So good morning, Jean-Luc. Thank you so much for joining our GMSA Zoom. We are very excited to have you with us. How are you this morning? How's the pandemic situation?
Good evening for us. It's 8 p.m. Finishing the day. Did a lot of surfing today.
To who doesn't know, I'll show just where you swim usually. One moment, I had it on my. I put it. One moment, I had here a map a minute before. I swear. Okay, never mind. I'll find it later. I'll find it later. Never mind. So today we will meet and interview Jean-Luc Boulanger, a French-Australian who was born in France and currently lives in Australia for more than 20 years. He's based in Melbourne and usually spends the European summers in France, Antibes, right?
Correct, yes. A nice place close to Nice in the southeast.
Yeah, so he's familiar with our sea, the Mediterranean Sea. Jean-Luc holds a PhD in physics and he's also an ultramarathon swimmer. He's also an Ironman sportsman who finished this challenge 33 times, including participating in 10 World Championships. Jean-Luc tends to swim every single day, dedicating his life to sport. And during the pandemic, he began with a new challenge, which we will mainly deal today, drawing the water using the GPS. What he does is actually swimming and painting, relying on the GPS track record. And we will let mainly to Jean-Luc to tell his story. But before we'll get to this point, Jean-Luc, I would like to ask you if you could a little bit describe the local open water swim scene in Melbourne. What is the water temperature? Do you swim with wetsuit or not? Summer, winter? How many swimmers?
Okay, so Melbourne is, I'm at the bottom of the bay, very close to Melbourne, in South Melbourne. The whole bay, if you go around, it's about 200 kilometers. Obviously, there's an opening and it's about 4 kilometers. So it's quite a big bay. And I tend to do all my drawings in the same area, which is a 3 kilometer long stretch. Yeah, between the St Kilda and the the jetty on the other side, the Port Melbourne beach. So basically around Middle Park, what you see on the map. And the temperature in the summer, in the end of January, it gets to 20, 21. And in the winter, it gets down to maybe 10 degrees. The bay cools down more than the ocean because it's more shallow. And today I was in Lorne. I was surfing in Lorne. So it's a little bit past Torquay. And but yeah, normally I do all the drawings in Middle Park. There's a lot of people in Melbourne that do open water. There's a lot of people that are great swimmers that have done, a lot of long swims, the Channel and Manhattan and all the other big swims you know of. And there are people that swim without wetsuits all year. And for me, I find it too cold. I have the wetsuit pretty much all the time, unless I swim half an hour in the summer or, even in 20 degrees, I can swim maybe 45 minutes, but after that I get cold. So in the winter when it's 11 degrees, I always have the wetsuit, booties, a hood. And even then I'm still cold. So in August, the drawings, I cut them down to maybe 35 minutes, 40 minutes. I did normally two swims a day, one in the morning, one in the afternoon. And in the summer, I can swim longer. With the wetsuit, I can pretty much swim as long as I want. I don't feel the cold with the wetsuit in the summer.
Great. So how could you a little bit tell us how does it work now during the pandemic and the lockdown? How much do you swim in the open water comparing to the swimming pool and what was before the pandemic?
Yeah, so before the pandemic, I used to swim, let's say, mostly in the pool during the week, and I would do my long training sessions in the sea, except in the winter. From May, I'd swim pretty much only in the pool. So even when I was training for a long swim challenge, sometimes I spend many hours swimming in the pool. But for us, the pools closed on 23rd of March this last year. And so from then I swam in the sea pretty much every day. And after a few weeks of going up and down the shore, I started to, draw. The first one was just butterfly wings, and the second one was a big jellyfish. And that was on 15th of April. And from then, I thought it was quite interesting. It was adding a dimension to my swimming. And it was also something I could share with people around the world through the social media. And basically, I kept doing this since. And I've done quite a few drawings since then.
This is the jellyfish, you said the second drawing, right?
Yeah, the second drawing. So that was a pretty basic one, but it was a long one. It was still warm. I think it was 17 degrees. And I didn't actually plan it or do any sketch for this one. Yeah, so it's probably one of the longest. Normally, the drawings are about 3 kilometers long, 50-something minutes.
Well, it's 7.5 kilometers. It's
yeah, that's right. This one is a long one.
Yeah, quite long one. Right. So let's talk a little bit about these drawings. Most of us find it very challenging to swim straight. Some of them are with us today, and you actually draw pictures in the water during the swimming. And I'll show while you'll explain us. I'll show some of the pictures where I guess people saw some of them in your Facebook account. So please, could you tell us a little bit more about it? Why did you start doing it? Did it just pop up? Did you just got up one day and said to yourself, "Hey, what a perfect day for you jellyfish"? What inspires you or inspired you?
Initially, it was just trying to do something different, So I drew the butterfly wings to basically triangles and then the jellyfish. And then I thought, oh, maybe I'll draw a big whale. And then I tried to make them a little bit more sophisticated. And I started to do sketches. So for most of them, I do a sketch on paper, and then I memorize the sketch, and I go out and swim it. So I use as reference points some of the permanent markers that are on the course. So on this one, for example, you see there are 4 little crosses, and Zvi, you can point them. That's the start and finish, and there is a cross. So that's a pole that's always there. And it's about 200 meters from the shore. Then there's another one close to the other end of the tail. So that's another pole that, I can see from the first one. So, and then there is another one in front of the pole. So a bit, there, that's right. Yeah. And also the legs at the bottom. Yeah. There's another one here. No, underneath. No, not here, underneath. Yeah. Close to the cross, on the cross. So that's the pole, and then there is, yeah. So it's basically, I start at one of the poles, and then I do a curve that goes past the other one, and then I go towards this other marker, and I count my strokes when I do the out and backs for the leg, Then I come to the alignment, I do the front pose, and then the head with the mouth, and a big circle for the eye, the ears, and then the back that goes close to the shore, and then back to the other markers. So this one is, you know, relatively simple one. Sometimes they're more difficult to memorize, but there's no magic. It's the main challenge since I started was to come up with new ideas of things that I could actually draw with a single line drawing, because these drawings are quite specific. You can't lift your pen off the paper. Once you've started to draw, the GPS records everything. So it's not like when you're drawing on a piece of paper, you can put a hash somewhere and draw somewhere else. It's just a continuous line. So everything is connected. So if you draw a portrait, then the eyes will be connected to something, whether it's the nose or, so that makes it quite challenging.
Yeah, challenging. I understand that you have no artistic background.
No. I could never draw anything when I was a child, and it's still difficult. And for a bizarre reason, it's a little bit easier in the water. It's a bit more forgiving because the curves are quite long, and yeah, so I find it almost easier to draw. Sometimes I have trouble drawing it on paper, and then in the water it comes out a little bit better. And sometimes it doesn't come out at all. I've got a big bucket on my computer. It's called below par. That's all the drawings that didn't turn out. So it doesn't always work as planned.
Yeah, I believe I have here an example. One moment, which you shared. This one, right?
I can't see it yet. Oh, the sheep. Yeah, this one was actually, yeah, it was a different thing I started. I wanted to give the effect of the wool, and I still posted it because it was something different, but it's not great. And it's, you sort of vaguely can see that it's a sheep, but it's not great. And it was pretty difficult to draw because the circles are quite long. And anyway, so that's a good example of something that was not really up to expectation.
Yeah, it's still quite good work, I think. Now, yesterday you I'm not sure since you're outside, but you showed me how you exactly put your GPS. This is the big secret. Could you share it with us?
Here. Yeah.
So Jean-Luc will share with us the secret. How does he do it? Well, you'll see the trick.
So here we go. So there are two tips or secrets. This thing, the GPS, doesn't work in the water. Even if the the vendors say, yeah, it's for open water or for the pool, it basically doesn't receive or send any signal when your arm is in the water. So when you swim and you have it on your wrist, it only works when your wrist is out of the water. So there is a software that sort of calculates your trajectory, but it's a bit more difficult. If it stays out of the water, it's a lot more accurate, if you run or ride. So what I do is I've got the swim to buoy, which I put around my waist with this belt. And it's good because the jet skis can see me. And if something happens, you can grab the buoy. But it's mostly for visibility. And I attach it like this. I put it, around like this. And when I drag the buoy, this stays out of the water all the time. So that's why and I put it on, for some reason, it's more accurate on running mode. You see all my drawings, they are on running mode. I did a test. I walked around the roundabout with this on running mode and on open water mode. on open water board, I couldn't see the roundabout. On running board, it was a perfect circle. So that's why I use it like this. So if you want to do accurate drawings, it's better if it's outside of the
כן.
But the first,
סוכר, מאמי.
I did quite a few, yeah, anyway.
לא משנה.
One moment, we have a, oh, now it's okay. Sorry, Jean-Luc.
Okay.
Someone
That's okay.
wasn't on mute.
That's okay. Feel free to interrupt and ask questions. You know, it's.
So what do you? Now when we understand better, how do you do it? So what is the biggest challenge what you consider to be your biggest challenge, your most challenging painting, drawing?
Oh, the most challenging one. Well, there are many that are difficult, but many of them are difficult for different reasons. It's the first thing is to find the idea and then to do the sketch of something you can draw with a single line drawing. And I only have a limited number of reference points, but I think the conditions are a big challenge. When it's very bumpy, you know, you get more tired, but it's very hard to see, and the lines are a bit more broken because I can't really. If it's very smooth, very flat, it's a lot easier. So bumpy conditions are quite challenging. When it's very windy, the buoy sort of, you know, flies around, and but the main challenge has really been to come up every morning. You know, I get up and say, well, okay, I need to find an idea of something I'm going to draw, and I've done almost 400 drawings since I started. And after I did 50, I thought, well, that's it. I don't have any more ideas. And then I came up with another theme. And so that's really a big challenge to find the ideas of something that can be drawn.
And I understand you also do from time to time drawing on request. Like
Yes,
this one, for example.
Yeah, I do a few drawings on request to support events. So that's cure cancer. So it's just writing. It's yeah. I did a few logos and to support specific events or specific causes, and I enjoy doing that because yeah, it helps these people raise awareness, and that's something that's important.
So one moment. So I understand when you speak about the challenge, so you say it's not only the drawing which is challenging, but also the conditions, the streams, the strokes. So how do you actually deal with it? I mean, you actually count strokes, and when you see a stream, so you know how to compensate, or how does it work?
Yeah, that's right. So I've done quite a bit of navigation in my younger days, and so I'm aware of the wind, the current, and the tides, and also the navigation principles using reference points that are on the shore or in the sea. So I'm very familiar with the area. And so I use the poles that are in the sea. I use the buildings. You know, sometimes I take an alignment between a pole and a building. So that's a straight line. If you keep them aligned, or you're on a specific line. So, you know, I use a lot of this. And it would be very difficult to do anything if you don't have any reference points. You know, for example, just having one pole is great because you can do you know, windmill, or you can just come back to it, your reference point, and you can start and finish there. And so it makes it a lot easier. If you don't have anything at all, it's a lot more challenging. I've done a few drawings in different areas, but yeah, I'm more familiar with the area where I always swim in Middle Park.
And do you did you already started with courses? Do you teach other swimmers to how to draw?
Short answer is just very occasionally. I'm coaching a young triathlete for open water, and one day, to do something different, we drew her dog. So that was Mishka. And then I went out with a very good open water swimmer from Melbourne. You know, Sam Shepard, who is he won one of the very prestigious races here several times, and he wanted to understand how it works. So we did a drawing together, and I showed him. You know, I stopped a few times during the drawing. This one I did that's another dog I did on request for someone who they just asked me, "Oh, can you do a portrait of my dog?" So it's, but yeah, maybe 2 or 3 or 4 people maximum. It's yeah, because the trick is when I start, I don't stop. You know, it's a bit tricky to stop. If you stop and you start drifting, then you mess up the drawing. So unless I stop at a pole. Normally, when I swim on my own, I just start the GPS, then I don't touch it until I finish, and then I stop it when I finish. So it's quite. You need to be quite focused, and it's yeah, it's like another dimension to the swimming. So that was the first book I published with the first 45 drawings, and you'll see some of the lines are a lot more broken in these ones because I was using a different GPS. And then I changed to something that has a better resolution, so it's different effect. So that was a little booklet I did with the first 45 drawings in early June. But I've done another 350 drawings since.
So this is your do you sell it, or do you just give it to friends?
I only printed 50 copies, and I sold them all. So I should do a reprint. But they went quite quickly, and yeah. But I basically sold it at cost. You know, it was not to make money. It was just to share with other people, yeah, that had been following, you know, the drawings on Facebook. And so initially it was pretty much just sea creatures, and then I started to do other things. So I did, you know, the Sydney Opera House, the Eiffel Tower, and portraits, and a lot of different things, and different animals, dinosaurs, and so now I don't limit myself to anything. And you know, 2 days ago I drew some clouds, cumulus clouds, and an old man with a walking stick. So things are very different.
Oh, okay. Now, after you've been doing it for a while, I guess you have followers all over the world. I guess that after today, you'll have a few dozens from Israel too. So what is your goal? Did you set any specific goal for yourself?
So I just saw a question. Somebody asked a question: how much time does it take to plan? And I don't remember. Yeah, that's you, Eyal. And the answer is, it takes me more time to prepare than to swim on average. Over the last 9 months, I spend more time with my drawing pad than actually swimming, because sometimes it takes me, you know, it's easy when you see the sketch, but coming up with a sketch that represents what you want, the effect you want to give, and is actually quite difficult. So sorry, just trying to answer Eyal's question. But sometimes, you know, some simple drawings like the clouds, I still spend 15, 20 minutes drawing different things, and but it's not as complicated. This one was complicated to execute, and to come up with the you know, with the sketch. And by the way, in all the posts, there's a video of the drawing, so you can actually see how I went along the course. So this one was quite challenging. I started from the top of the hat, and then I did the eye, and the nose was difficult because I came out like this, and then I needed to come back to the same place roughly. Then the mouth, and then the stick, the broomstick is aligned with these markers. You know, it's about 200 meters from the shore. But then, yeah, there's not a huge amount. There's only 3 or 4 poles on this drawing. So this one was quite a challenging one. And it came out, well, I like it. And it was a lot of planning. I spent hours trying to draw something that looked like a witch on a broomstick.
And this was, if that was challenging, so what can you say about this one?
So this one, yeah, so this one is quite difficult too. So you see it, because everything's connected. So it looks like it's 2 different things, but I start from the right and I do the one on the right, and then I come down along the beach, and then I do the other profile, and it looks like they are separated, but it's actually the same. Yeah, they're still connected through the line that is underneath. Yeah, that was quite a challenge as well.
And what can you tell us about this one?
Yeah, this one I like. Snoopy always makes me laugh, and it came out quite good. You know, the first attempt I was quite lucky, but it's all about the yeah, coming up with the sketch. And you know, it doesn't need to be perfect, but it just needs to give you this, you know, this visual impact. And the important thing is people look at it and have a bit of a laugh. And you know, it doesn't. If you really look at it, it's not exactly like the model, but it doesn't remember. People sort of recognize what it is, and so and you know, since I do 1 or 2 drawings a day, I don't try to make them perfect. You know, I could sit there for a week and redo it 10 times, but when it's sort of good enough that people sort of see what it's about and have a laugh, I'm happy. Some of them I had to do 3 or 4 times. Yeah, this one I just did once. It's a bit crooked, but yeah.
One moment, I'll share it again. One moment. Yeah.
Some of them I could only do in good conditions. You know, this one is one of them. And even in good conditions, it's you know, it's not perfect. You sort of see a little bit what it is, but it's, you know, it's a bit crooked, and but it was actually hard to come up with a single line drawing because there are different ways you can go about it. And in hindsight, it always looks easy once you've done it, but coming up with the sketch is difficult. And that's still, you know, that's still my challenge. And even after having done a few hundred drawings, when I get an idea, it's always a challenge to find a way of doing it. So it gets a little bit easier, but not that much. I find it quite difficult. Maybe I'm just, I don't know, a slow learner or...
Slow learner. And here we can see an example. If you could tell us a little bit more about the writing. I find it, even though it looks less graphic than other paintings, actually writing in water looks like a bigger challenge.
Yeah, the writing, there's one principle. There are 3 or 4 poles that are exactly aligned. So that's like my baseline. You know, there are 200 meters apart, so there's not 1,000 poles, but I use 2 or 3 for the drawing. And so that's the first thing. So I have a baseline where I come back to. And the other thing is it needs to be quite big. You know, even just this simple writing, I don't remember what it is, but it's probably a couple of kilometers or 1.5 kilometers. So it's not, what I mean, it's not 150 meters. You can't write just a few words in 150 meters. So typically the S would be, I don't know, all up maybe 100 strokes, and the U, the the bit that comes up would be something like 30 strokes. So it's not like you turn every 3 strokes. That's the idea. So if you make them big, and so the difficulty depends on the letters. The U is quite easy. The P, you come down and then you need to come back up the same way, right? Otherwise, so if there is current, it's quite difficult. So the P is, you know, medium level difficulty, and some letters are quite complicated. For example, the O is quite difficult because you do a circle, then you come back and you do over it, and then you, yeah, and the A is the same. If you try to write in cursive, you'll understand, you know, when you have to come back to the same place, draw again over the same part of the letter, it's quite difficult. So the A and the O are quite difficult. And they're not all perfect. You know, you can see in many of my writings, the A and the O's are not great. But again, you know, it just needs to be good enough so you can read it. It's like handwriting. My handwriting is a lot worse than this, but yeah.
So what do you enjoy more? And by the way, I'll open the chat for the chat is open for your questions.
Sure.
One question here. What do you enjoy more? Which sport do you enjoy at the moment? The artistic sport or the achievement sport, which you used to do until the pandemic?
Look, I love being in the environment, and I love being outside, you know, in the water every day. I love the challenge of the swimming. You know, I did a few long swims. I really enjoyed the whole preparation, and it's always the same principle. Whether it's Ironman or a long swim, you train for it. You got the objective, and you apply yourself, and then you focus during the event, and then things go wrong because you can't plan for everything, so you have to be ready to make changes. So that's something I enjoy and I've done for many years. The drawing is, as I said before, it's an additional dimension, so it's a new challenge. It's so when I swim draw, I don't worry too much about the pace. I just have my you know, the average pace for the drawing is I think it's 3.2 or 3.25 kilometers per hour. So it's not quick, it's not super slow, but it's not a fast pace. But that's sort of my normal you know, endurance pace. It's a bit slower with the drawing because you have all the turns, the stop, and so if I do an event, I go a bit quicker, but you know, that's sort of my pace. And so when I'm out, what I enjoy is I'm out in the elements every day of the year, and it changes every day. You know, I've swum at the same place for a year, and I took pictures every day. It's never the same. So I like that. I like the fact that whatever conditions I get, and I try to swim and draw. And sometimes it's really challenging, but I like it. It's a different challenge. It's difficult to explain why, but I like it. I find it challenging, and it's a multi-dimensional thing.
Great.
If I relate it to, you know, Ironman was I loved because it's also multi-dimensional. It's the swimming, the riding, and the running, but it's also the nutrition, the hydration, and I like that part of it as well. It's not just, you know, going as hard as you can for a few hours. If you don't drink, if you drink too much or not enough, or if you don't have the right food, well, you can have all sorts of problems. And I like that. The fact that it's a more complex problem.
Question from the audience: is there a common factor between your profession and the painting in the sea? Do you see any connection?
No, the only connection is it helps to have a bit of a scientific brain and some experience in navigation to you know, to understand why you are in the water, and have that sensitivity about how you can find your position using a building and a pole, and also the experience of drifting on a sailboat, and knowing how the tides work and that sort of stuff. Just some general awareness, but the technicality of it is not difficult. Anybody that is interested can do it, but it helps if you have a little bit of a scientific background, I guess. It would help if I had more artistic background, but I don't.
There's another question from the audience. Did you think of photographing yourself with the drone from above and making a time-lapse record of your art?
Yeah. So I get that question a lot, and I thought about it. The main problem is my drawings are typically, the average time is 50 minutes, but it's anything from 20 minutes for the really short ones to 2 hours. And the drones, the battery only lasts half an hour. So it's difficult to find a drone that will follow me for all that time. So that has been the roadblock for now. And but that's why I put the swim course video. Garmin gives you the actual course. So, but ideally, I'd like to swim with the buoy, have the drone, and then put it in accelerated mode, so that you can see the yellow buoy, the orange buoy, and get a sense of the actual drawing being executed. It's still on my to-do list. Find a drone with a big enough battery.
Okay. The audience, do you have any other? I'll open the line to questions from the audience. Does anybody want to ask something?
Somebody's talking, but they're on mute, I think.
No, I can't. We'll wait about a minute. We'll see if somebody will pop up with a question.
Sure.
I must say that you've answered a lot of questions, and it looks from a first glance it looks very complicated, but now I feel that I know a little bit more, and I'm quite confident I can maybe try doing something like that. Let's see another question here.
Question. I think that you said 2 tricks about the GPS. One I think is very wise. You said put it on the buoy. Was there another one?
Yes. The other one is make the drawing big. If you try to do a complicated drawing in a patch that's only like a pool, it's not going to work. You need to think hundreds of meters or kilometers. So even for the simple writing, support the fight, I think the total was like 1.3K or something like this. So because the resolution of the GPS is not great, typically my rule of thumb is anything that's less than 20 strokes, you don't really see. 20 strokes you see. If you go out 20 strokes, back 20 strokes, it looks like a spike. But if you go 5 strokes left and 5 strokes right, it's not, So that's why, and I think that's why a lot of people have trouble, because if they try to draw something in a small area, it just doesn't work, especially if they have the GPS on their wrist.
Okay, any other questions from the audience? Okay, so maybe one moment.
Something about time lapse, and this one I can't read.
Yeah, time lapse. Maybe you can use a still camera from a high point on the shore. This is an idea.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, that's yeah. With the buoy, yeah, we could do that. There's yeah, that's a good idea.
Somebody's asking here if there's already a competition. Can you find on the Facebook or someone who tries to do the same?
Well, I haven't seen. I'm not aware of people doing, you know, complicated or sophisticated drawings. I saw a lot of people post things like, you know, a cartoon-looking fish, or but I haven't seen complicated ones in the water. I've seen some great ones in swimming and you know, sorry, not swimming, riding and running. Some people have done fantastic things.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, the reason why I started to do this is I read a novel 30 years ago, and it was yeah, somebody was basically drawing letters when walking in New York and sending messages to somebody else like this. So that I always had, it always fascinated me, and so I sort of had that at the back of my mind when I started to draw.
You have here a suggestion to paint the coronavirus.
Yeah, I had a lot, but so I try to convey only positive messages. So yeah, I didn't really want to talk too much about the virus. I mean, if you go on to my LinkedIn, I've done actually a lot of posts on the virus. I've done quite a few analyses, and they are public. So, but the swim art, I just wanted to keep something fresh, something free, and something that people can enjoy, and that was sending some positive vibes. So, yeah.
Okay, any other questions from the audience? Okay, it seems okay. So I'll just
if you have other questions, you can always contact me on Messenger or friend me on Facebook. Yeah.
I want to share. I try to imitate you. I want to share what I did yesterday on the beach of Tel Aviv. Quite good for the first time, right?
It's pretty good, yeah. Yeah, it's pretty good. I love and the block letters not connected. It's magic. It's difficult to draw in block letters.
Jean-Luc, it took me 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Okay, so I would like to thank you very much for this fascinating, amazing interview. I guess you have some dozens of new friends from Israel. Who will start following you. You have several invitations here to come to visit Israel, and you are out in our beaches.
The Sea of Galilee one day. It would be a good challenge to do the 20K swim.
So now you have the right connections. So thank you very much again for your time and for the interview and for the magnificent things you do and you share with us. Thank you very much. And
my pleasure. Thanks for joining, everyone. And again, feel free to send me questions or contact me on Messenger or Facebook.
Okay, bye, Jean-Luc.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Bye.
Thanks, Zika.
תודה רבה שהצטרפתם.